Maya's back hit the wall, and she didn't care. Dominic's mouth was on hers, hot and desperate, swallowing her gasp as his hands tangled in her hair. 400 years of restraint had finally shattered, and she could feel it in every bruising kiss, every possessive touch. Last chance, he growled against her lips, his voice wrecked. Once I do this, stop talking. She pulled him back, kissing him harder, her fingers digging into his shoulders. The basement room spun around them, or maybe that was just her head, dizzy with want. He made a sound low in his throat, half groan, half growl, and suddenly she was lifted, her legs wrapping around his waist as he carried her to the bed. The sheets were cool against her heated skin, but Dominic was furnace hot above her, his weight pressing her down in a way that made her nerve endings sing. Maya. Her name was a prayer and a curse on his lips. His mouth traced down her jaw, her throat, finding that spot where her pulse hammered wildly. I love you. God, I love you. Then make me yours, she whispered, tilting her head back, offering everything. His control snapped. She felt his fangs extend, sharp points dragging across her skin, and her breath caught. The anticipation was torture, exquisite and terrifying, and absolutely necessary. Forever, he breathed against her throat. You're mine forever. The bite was lightning and fire, pleasure so intense it bordered on pain. Maya arched against him, her fingers clutching his hair, holding him to her as his venom flooded her system. The bond between them exploded into brilliant, perfect clarity, a connection so complete she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. She was burning, dying, being reborn, and she'd never felt more alive. 48 hours earlier.
Hey, it's Katie. Quick pause before part 2. If you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe so I can keep creating these stories for you. And drop a comment with what you'd like me to write next. Now, let's continue.
Chapter 1. The Fall. The world tilted sideways, and Maya's scream tore through the howling wind as her boots lost purchase on the icy embankment. Her car, her stupid, reliable, now smoking sedan, sat at an impossible angle on the mountain road above, headlights cutting through the blizzard like accusatory eyes. She tumbled, snow through her mouth and coat, her phone flying from her grip. The ground rushed up to meet her, and she slammed into a drift hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. "Chloe!" she gasped into the white chaos, her voice barely a whisper against the storm. "Chloe!" 4 hours. She'd left the city 4 hours ago, giddy with the prospect of a girls' weekend at Chloe's dad's cabin. Her best friend had been so insistent, practically begging Maya to come, saying she needed this, that they both did. 6 months since Chloe had moved back to Colorado to help with her sick father, and Maya had missed her desperately. Now she was going to die in a snowbank before she even made it to the damn cabin. Maya blinked against the snow crusting her eyelashes, dizzy and disoriented. Through the whiteout conditions, she saw something impossible. A figure standing on the cliff above, easily 200 feet away. But she could see him perfectly. Dark hair whipping in the wind, broad shoulders in a black coat, eyes that seemed to pierce straight through the storm to find her. Her breath caught. She blinked again, sure she was hallucinating from the cold. Then he was there, right beside her. No movement between there and here, just suddenly present, crouching in the snow with an expression of such barely contained fury that Maya forgot to be afraid of the impossibility.
"You shouldn't be here," he said, and his voice did something to her insides that definitely wasn't frostbite. She knew him. Recognition slammed through her even through the shock and cold. Dominic Laurent, Chloe's father. She'd seen photos, heard stories, but those didn't prepare her for the reality of him. Sharp features that could have been carved from marble, dark eyes that held something ancient and knowing, a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile. He looked exactly like he had in the photos from 20 years ago. Not older, not weathered, exactly the same as the pictures Chloe had shown her from when her mother was pregnant. My car? I managed through chattering teeth. I know. He was already lifting me, one arm beneath my knees, the other around my back. I started to protest. I was a grown woman, I could walk. But my legs weren't cooperating, and the warmth radiating from him made me want to burrow closer instead of pulling away. You can't, he said flatly, already moving with me through the storm. His stride didn't falter, despite the snow, despite carrying my weight. If anything, he moved like the weather didn't touch him at all. Maya's head lolled against his chest. This close, she caught his scent. Pine and something darker, richer. Old books and winter nights. Her photographer's brain cataloged details, even as her body started to shake harder. The way his jaw clenched, the tension in his arms that had nothing to do with my weight, the fact that snowflakes didn't seem to land on him at all.
Chapter 2. Sanctuary. The cabin materialized from the white like a sanctuary, all warm wood and golden light spilling from the windows, smoke curling from a stone chimney. It was larger than she'd expected, more elegant. Old money meets mountain refuge, exactly the kind of place she'd want to photograph. Dominic kicked the door open and carried her inside, setting her down on a leather sofa near a roaring fireplace before disappearing deeper into the cabin. Maya curled into herself, shivering, taking in her surroundings. High ceilings with exposed beams, expensive but understated furniture. Walls lined with bookshelves and framed photographs. He returned with blankets and a mug of something that smelled like chocolate and cinnamon. His movements were precise, controlled, almost angry, as he draped the blankets around her shoulders. "Drink," he ordered, pressing the mug into her hands. Then he stood there, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle with awareness beneath the cold. Maya sipped. The hot chocolate was perfect, rich and dark with a hint of spice. She looked up to thank him and found him staring at her mouth like he was memorizing the way her lips touched the rim of the mug. "Where's Chloe?" she asked, her voice hoarse. Something flickered across his face. "Upstairs. I'll get you dry clothes." He moved toward the stairs, then stopped. "Your phone. I found it on the road." He pulled it from his coat pocket. The screen was shattered, the device dead. Maya's stomach sank. "The power is out from the storm," Dominic continued. "Even if we could charge it." He left the sentence unfinished. Maya nodded numbly, clutching the mug tighter. She was stranded, in a cabin, with her best friend's incredibly attractive, clearly irritated father, who had apparently developed teleportation abilities. He returned with clothes, leggings, a soft sweater, thick socks. "These are Chloe's. The bathroom is through there." He gestured to a door off the living room. I'll be in the kitchen." The bathroom was warm. The clothes fit perfectly despite Chloe being 3 inches taller. Maya studied herself in the mirror as she changed. Wet hair, flushed cheeks, eyes too bright. She looked like someone who just survived something, though she wasn't sure if she meant the accident or the way Dominic had looked at her.
When she emerged, he was in the kitchen, but she could see him through the open archway. He moved with economical grace, chopping vegetables with precise knife work. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Maya approached slowly, drawn by the domestic scene that felt at odds with the tension radiating from him. "Can I use the landline to call Chloe?" His shoulders tensed. "She's not coming." The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Maya's pulse kicked up. "What do you mean she's not coming? She's the one who insisted on this weekend." Dominic set down the knife with deliberate care and pulled his phone from his pocket. He unlocked it, pulled up messages, and handed it to her without a word. The text was from Chloe, sent 8 hours ago. "Dad, bringing boyfriend instead. Maya knows, she's cool with it. We're doing next week instead." Maya stared at the screen. I never got this. My phone died during my last client meeting this afternoon. I'm a wedding photographer," I added uselessly. "I didn't know. Chloe wouldn't have just—" "Of course she didn't get it," Dominic muttered, taking his phone back. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in his voice. Resignation? Anger? Something else that made my skin prickle with an awareness I couldn't name. "The roads?" I asked weakly. "Closed. According to the radio, we're looking at 2 to 3 days minimum before they can clear them." 2 to 3 days? Alone, in a cabin with Dominic Laurent, who was looking at me like I was a problem he needed to solve, or possibly devour. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude on your weekend." His laugh was sharp and humorless. "It's not your fault." He returned to cooking, his movements slightly too controlled. "You must be hungry. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. That first evening was the longest and strangest of Maya's life. Dominic cooked like someone who'd spent lifetimes perfecting the craft. Herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables, a salad that tasted like summer despite the blizzard outside. He set a beautiful table with wine glasses and cloth napkins, served her with attentive precision, and barely ate anything himself. Instead, he watched her. Not obviously, not creepily, but she felt his gaze like a physical touch. Every time she looked up, his eyes would be on her. Her hands, her mouth, the line of her throat when she tilted her head to sip wine. "This is incredible," Maya said, desperate to fill the charged silence. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "Here and there, over the years." She tried to picture Chloe growing up in this beautiful, isolated place with this intense, controlled man. "Chloe never mentioned you were such a good cook, though, honestly, she doesn't talk about you much, just that you've been sick and that's why she moved back." His mouth tightened almost imperceptibly. "I've been managing." "What do you do? For work, I mean." "Investments. Old investments." The way he said it made it sound both truthful and incomplete. Maya found herself talking to fill the silence, words spilling out that she never planned to share. About her failed engagement last year, how Jacob had decided 3 months before the wedding that he wanted someone less driven, which apparently meant someone who'd give up her photography career. About the loneliness that had followed, the sense of sleepwalking through her days, going through the motions without feeling anything. "I keep thinking there's supposed to be more, like I'm waiting for something I can't name. Does that sound crazy?" Dominic's hand tightened on his wine glass. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "I know the feeling. I've been waiting too." The way he said it made my breath catch. The air between them felt electric, charged with something Maya couldn't name but felt in every nerve ending. "Waiting for what?" she whispered. He stood abruptly, collecting dishes with movements just slightly too fast to be normal. "You should rest. You've had a shock today." "I'm not tired." It was true. Despite the accident, the cold, the stress, she felt wired, alive in a way she hadn't in months. "Then I'll show you to your room. The guest room is upstairs, first door on the right. My room is at the end of the hall. There's only—" He stopped himself. "You'll have privacy." The promise of privacy felt like a warning, or maybe a regret.
Chapter 3. Strange Discoveries. Maya woke at 2 in the afternoon the next day, disoriented and cotton-mouthed. She'd slept like the dead, deeper than she had in years, and felt drunk on it. Downstairs, Dominic had made what he called brunch: fresh pastries, fruit, coffee so perfect it made her want to cry. He looked exactly as he had last night, not tired, not rumpled, if anything, more controlled. "Did you sleep at all?" she asked. "I'm not much of a sleeper." She'd checked at 4 a.m., restless in her strange bed, and seen lights on in a room she assumed was his study. Now, in daylight filtering through the snow-heavy clouds, she studied him properly. He wore a dark sweater that did criminal things to his shoulders, jeans that fit entirely too well. His dark hair was slightly mussed, like he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. He looked mid-30s at most, but Chloe was 23, and he had her at 19, which made him 42. Math that didn't match what Maya's eyes told her. After eating, restless, Maya explored. The cabin revealed itself in layers. Beautiful, but odd. Decorative mirrors hung in all the wrong places, positioned too high or at wrong angles to actually be useful. Every window had blackout curtains, expensive and thorough, the kind that blocked out all light. She wandered into the kitchen for more coffee and noticed the fridge. Opened it idly, looking for cream. The blood bags were on the bottom shelf, labeled in neat handwriting. Dietary supplements, DL. Maya stared at them for a long moment, her photographer's mind cataloging the deep red color, the medical-grade packaging, the casual way they sat next to organic vegetables and expensive cheese. She closed the fridge carefully and went to find the photographs. They lined the walls of the hallway upstairs. Dominic with Chloe at various ages, baby, toddler, gap-toothed 7-year-old, sullen teenager, college graduate. A timeline of a daughter growing up, carefully documented and lovingly framed. Dominic never changed. Not in 23 years of photographs. Same face, same build, same ageless quality that made Maya's skin prickle with the same awareness she'd felt since he pulled her from the snow. Chapter 4. The Truth Surfaces. "How old are you?" she asked when she found him in his study, surrounded by books that looked genuinely ancient. He looked up from the journal he'd been writing in, his expression unreadable. "What brought this on?" "The photos in the hallway. You don't age." "Good genes." But his voice was flat, and he didn't meet her eyes. "The blood bags in the fridge." His pen stopped moving. Very slowly, he set it down. "Maya. And I keep thinking about yesterday, how you were on the cliff one second and next to me the next, how you carried me through that storm like I weighed nothing, how you don't eat, but you watch me eat like—" She stopped, heat flooding her face. He stood, and there was something dangerous in the movement, predatory.
He crossed to her with steps that were too smooth, too controlled, and stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "What like?" he asked, voice low. "Like you're starving," she whispered. His jaw clenched. "You should go back to your room." "I should, but I'm not going to." Maya surprised herself with her boldness. "What would you say if I told you I've felt like I've known you my entire life, that being here with you feels more right than anything has in years?" Something cracked in his expression. He turned away sharply, moving to a filing cabinet and pulling out a worn photo album. When he returned, his hands were unsteady as he opened it. "Then what would you say to this?" He flipped through pages, each one a punch to Maya's gut.
Maya at age 5 at the park near her childhood home, feeding ducks. Dominic in the background, partially obscured by a tree. Maya at 12 at her middle school art show, the one where she'd first won recognition for her photography. Dominic in the crowd, watching. Maya at 18, college graduation. Dominic standing under a tree at the edge of campus. Page after page of her life, documented from a distance. Always him in the background, always watching. "You've been stalking me?" Her voice came out shaky. "Protecting you," he corrected, but there was agony in his voice. "I should have stayed away. God knows I tried." He slammed the album shut. "But Chloe kept talking about you. Every phone call. Maya this, Maya that. She sent me your social media, your photography portfolio, and I thought..." He stopped himself, breathing hard. "Thought what?" "That I could handle it. That I could wait a little longer. That maybe the universe wasn't as cruel as I believed." He laughed bitterly. "I was wrong." Maya's heart was racing. She should be terrified. She should be running for the door. Instead, she stepped closer. "Wait for what, Dominic?" His eyes met hers, and the raw hunger in them made her knees weak. "For you to be old enough." The words hung between them like a confession and a crime. "I'm 25, she said quietly. "I know." His voice was rough. "I've counted every year." The fire crackled in the hearth. Outside, the storm continued its assault on the cabin. Inside, Maya felt like she was standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying and absolutely necessary. "How old are you really?" she asked. Old enough to know better than this. But he didn't move away when she closed the remaining distance between them. "The blood bags, the photos, the way you move..." My mind was racing, fitting pieces together into an impossible picture. "Tell me I'm crazy." "You're not crazy." His hand came up, not quite touching her face, hovering just close enough that she could feel the warmth. "You're absolutely right, and I'm absolutely damned." "Then tell me," she demanded. The storm outside seemed to hold its breath. Dominic's control was visibly fracturing, something wild and ancient showing through the cracks. "Not here," he said finally. "If I'm going to damn myself completely, I'm going to do it properly." He held out his hand. "Come with me." Maya took his hand without hesitation, and the electricity that sparked between them at the contact made them both inhale sharply. Chapter 5. 4 Centuries. He led her to a door she'd noticed but not investigated, locked, partially hidden behind a bookshelf on the first floor. Dominic produced a key from his pocket, and the lock clicked open with a sound like fate sealing itself. The basement stairs descended into darkness. Dominic flicked a switch, and soft lights illuminated what could only be described as a museum of one man's impossible life. Paintings lined the walls, Renaissance-era portraits, Georgian landscapes, Victorian photographs, and in each one, sometimes in the background, sometimes clearly displayed, was Dominic, his face unchanged across centuries. "Oh my God," Maya breathed. But Dominic was already moving to a table where documents were carefully preserved under glass. Birth certificates, death certificates, his own, she realized with shock. Property deeds, letters in languages both familiar and ancient. A leather journal sat open, the handwriting unmistakably Dominic's, dated 1885. "I was turned in 1607, he said quietly, watching her face. "In what's now Romania, though borders meant different things then. I'm 438 years old." Maya's legs felt weak. She gripped the edge of the table. "The blood bags?" she asked, voice thin. "Synthetic supplements mostly. I haven't hunted in over a century. Haven't taken from an unwilling human in 3. He said it matter-of-factly, like discussing dietary restrictions. "When Chloe's mother was pregnant, I made choices about the kind of father I wanted to be." Chloe's mother knew? Something painful crossed his face. She was human. She didn't know until Chloe was 5, and when she found out, she left, just vanished. I never told Chloe the truth about why. "Is Chloe—" She couldn't finish the question. "Half vampire. Her mother made me promise not to tell her until she was 25, and the vampire traits fully manifested. She's 23. She has 2 years left of feeling normal." The weight in his voice was centuries deep. "I'm watching my daughter approach the moment that will change her life forever, and I can't prepare her, can't help her, can only wait." "That's why she moved back. She's starting to notice changes." He nodded. "Enhanced senses, increased strength. She thinks it's stress, or maybe early menopause from her mother's side. In 2 years, on her 25th birthday, I'll have to tell her the truth." Maya moved along the wall of paintings, studying each one. Dominic in 1642, dark-eyed and serious in Puritan clothing. Dominic in 1765, at what looked like a French salon. Dominic in 1823, American frontier clothes, standing in front of mountains that might have been these very peaks. "You've lived all of this," she whispered. "I've survived all of this," he corrected. "There's a difference." She turned to face him. "Why show me this? Why not just let me think you were eccentric or dealing with a medical condition?" His control finally shattered. He crossed to her in 2 swift strides, hands coming up to frame her face with a gentleness that belied the intensity in his eyes. "Because I've spent 20 years lying to myself about what you are to me. Because having you in my home, under my protection, close enough to touch," his thumbs traced her cheekbones with aching tenderness, "I can't pretend anymore. I can't keep playing human when everything in me is screaming that you're mine." "Yours?" Maya's voice came out breathy. "My mate." The words were raw. "Do you understand what I'm telling you? 20 years ago, I walked past a hospital maternity ward. I was there donating blood. It's complicated, but yes, vampires can do that. I felt something I'd never experienced in 4 centuries, a pull, an absolute knowledge. I looked through the window and saw you, hours old, and I knew." Maya's breath caught. "You're saying that you're my soul's other half? That the bond was instant and complete? That I met my perfect match when you were an infant and have spent 2 decades in exquisite torture waiting for you to grow up?" His voice broke. Do you have any idea what that's like? Mating the other half of your soul and having to wait decades before you could even speak to them? Watching them grow, staying away, knowing every year brought us closer to the moment when I could finally... He stopped himself, breathing hard, his forehead nearly touching hers. When Chloe befriended you in high school, I thought I would go insane. She showed me pictures, told me stories about your life, about your dreams and fears, and the boy who broke your heart junior year. And I couldn't say anything, couldn't do anything except wait and ache and count down the years until you were old enough that approaching you wouldn't make me a monster. This weekend, Maya said slowly, Chloe canceling was not an accident. Dominic's hands dropped from her face, but he didn't step back. I think on some level, Chloe knew. The bond between parent and child. I've been thinking about you constantly lately, obsessively. She probably felt my desperation and created this situation. But you said she doesn't know you're a vampire. He froze. She couldn't have known to... They stared at each other as the implications sank in. Someone else set this up, she finished. Chapter 7. Arrivals. Before Dominic could respond, a sound came from upstairs. A door opening. Footsteps. His entire body went rigid. Stay here, he commanded, already moving toward the stairs. But Maya followed, unable to stop herself. They emerged from the basement into the main room just as the front door burst open. Chloe stood in the doorway, snow-covered and furious, her dark hair whipping around her face. Behind her, a man Maya recognized from Facebook photos, Chloe's boyfriend, Luke. Oh, thank God! Chloe rushed forward, grabbing Maya's shoulders. I've been trying to call you for 12 hours. That text I supposedly sent, I never sent it. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showed the message in her sent folder. I didn't write this. Luke, tell them. She was with me all day. I watched her pack. She never sent anything to you, Maya. We were on our way here when we saw your car on the side of the road. I've never seen Chloe drive so recklessly. Maya breathed. I forgot about my car. It's fine. AAA is coming in the morning. But Maya, Chloe's eyes were wild. How did that text send itself? Dominic's face had gone carefully blank. Chloe, who has access to your phone? Just you and... Chloe went pale. Mom's old number is still in my account? From when I was a kid and she managed my phone plan? But she hasn't used it in 18 years, a new voice said from the shadows near the stairs. Maya's breath caught as a woman emerged, beautiful and ageless, dark hair cascading over shoulders wrapped in an expensive coat. She moved with the same predatory grace as Dominic, her eyes the same impossible shade. Hello, Dominic. Hello, daughter. Surprise. I'm not dead, after all. Chloe made a sound like she'd been punched. Dominic's voice was deadly quiet. Isabel. The name hung in the air like a curse. Maya watched as Chloe's mother, Chloe's supposedly vanished mother, smiled with too many teeth and said, We need to talk, all of us. Chapter 8. Revelations. The cabin fell into absolute silence. Even the storm outside seemed to pause, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Chloe's face had gone through shock, disbelief, and was now settling into a fury Maya had never seen on her friend's usually cheerful features. You've been gone for 18 years. 18 years and you just show up in Dad's cabin like some kind of vampire. Isabel supplied helpfully. She moved into the light with fluid grace. And Maya noticed details she'd missed. The way Isabel's feet didn't quite disturb the snow she'd tracked in, the impossible smoothness of her skin, the way her eyes reflected the firelight like an animal's. "What?" Chloe's voice cracked. Dominic stepped between his daughter and his ex, his body language pure protection. "Isabel, you have no right." "I have every right." Isabel's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "She's my daughter, and you've been lying to her for 23 years. "You made me promise," Dominic growled. "I made you promise to wait until she was 25. She's close enough. The traits are manifesting. I can smell it on her." Isabel's gaze softened slightly as she looked at Chloe. Enhanced senses, unusual strength, healing faster than you should. Chloe stumbled backward and Luke caught her. "What is happening right now?"
Maya found herself speaking before she could stop herself. "Your mother is a vampire, your father is a vampire, you're half vampire, and apparently everyone knew except you." 4 sets of eyes turned to her. Chloe's were wide with shock. Dominic's held warning. Luke looked like he might pass out. Isabel's expression was something close to approval. "Well," Isabel said, "at least someone is being honest, and you must be Maya." She circled slowly, studying Maya with the intensity of an apex predator. "The little human who's had my former mate tied in knots for 2 decades. You are prettier than your photos." "Stop," Dominic commanded, positioning himself between Maya and Isabel. "Oh, please." Isabel waved a hand dismissively. "I'm not here to hurt your precious mate. Quite the opposite, actually." "Mate?" Chloe's voice rose an octave. "Dad, what is she talking about? Actually, no. First, explain the vampire thing, because I'm pretty sure I'm having a psychotic break right now." Dominic's shoulders sagged. He looked at his daughter with such raw pain that Maya's heart ached for him. "Chloe, I wanted to tell you. I've wanted to tell you every day for the last 23 years. "Then why didn't you?" Chloe's eyes were filling with tears. "Because I made him promise," Isabel said quietly. "When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. Vampire pregnancies are rare. Most of us can't conceive. When I realized what you'd be, what you'd become, I couldn't handle it. So I made Dominic swear he wouldn't tell you until you were old enough to understand, until your vampire nature fully manifested at 25. "But you left," Chloe whispered. "When I was 5, you just disappeared." Isabel's composure cracked slightly. "Because watching you grow up knowing what was coming, knowing I'd have to watch you lose your humanity piece by piece, it was killing me. I couldn't stay and watch, so I left, and I've regretted it every day since." Luke cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, but can we back up to the part where vampires are real? Because I think I need to sit down." "Kitchen," Dominic said tersely. "Everyone, now." Chapter 9. Family Truths. They gathered around the kitchen table like some kind of supernatural family therapy session. Dominic made tea with hands that weren't quite steady. Isabel sat with perfect posture, watching everyone with ancient eyes. Chloe gripped Luke's hand like a lifeline. Maya felt like she'd fallen into an alternate dimension. "Start at the beginning," Chloe demanded. Her voice was steadier now, though her face was pale. "And don't leave anything out." So Dominic told her about being turned in 1607, about the centuries of loneliness and survival, about meeting Isabel in 1998. She'd been turned in the 1920s. had been a vampire for 70 years when they met. We thought we couldn't have children. Vampire reproduction is complicated. But apparently, the universe had other plans. She looked at Chloe with something achingly close to love. You were a miracle. And a terror. I made your mother promise not to tell you until you were ready, until you'd lived enough of a human life that you could make an informed choice about your future. What choice? You're saying I'm going to become a vampire whether I want to or not? The traits will fully manifest at 25. Enhanced strength, speed, healing, heightened senses, the need for blood, though half vampires can survive on supplements and rare meat. You'll age slower. Sunlight won't kill you, but it'll be uncomfortable. You'll be stronger than humans, weaker than full vampires. And if I don't want this? Chloe's voice was small. Silence fell heavy across the table. There's no cure, Dominic said finally. This is what you are, what you've always been. But you can still have a good life, a long one. Luke, he looked at Chloe's boyfriend. This is a lot for you to process. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Luke, to his credit, squeezed Chloe's hand tighter. I'm not going anywhere, though I reserve the right to freak out about this later. Chloe turned to Maya. You knew already, before tonight? I figured it out this afternoon. The blood bags, the photos, the way your dad moves. It wasn't hard to put together once I started looking. And you're just okay with this? Chloe's laugh was slightly hysterical. My best friend is dating my vampire father and nobody thought to mention it? We're not dating, Maya and Dominic said simultaneously. Isabel snorted. Please, the bond is so strong I could feel it from the road. You two are drowning in each other and pretending to keep your distance. It's nauseating. Wait. Chloe held up a hand. Back up. Bond? What bond? Dominic's jaw clenched. It's not important.
It's the most important thing, Isabel interrupted. Your father found his mate 20 years ago. The problem is, his mate was an infant at the time. Chloe's eyes went wide as she looked between Maya and Dominic. No way! Maya, you're my age! Understanding dawned. Oh my God, the hospital. That story you told me once about donating blood when I was born. I felt the bond the moment I saw her, Dominic said quietly. But I wouldn't act on it. She was a baby, a child. It would have been monstrous. So you waited 20 years. 20 years of watching you grow up from a distance. 20 years of aching for something I couldn't have. 20 years of Chloe unknowingly torturing me with stories about her brilliant, beautiful best friend. Dominic's voice was raw. When she moved back here, when she started talking about inviting you for a weekend, I knew I should refuse, should make an excuse, but I couldn't. I've waited so long, and I thought, maybe, finally. So you sent the fake text, Chloe said, looking at her mother. You engineered this whole weekend. Isabel had the grace to look slightly sheepish. I've been watching from the distance. The bond between parent and child, I felt your father's obsession growing. It was consuming him. He's been slowly dying, refusing to feed properly, losing himself in longing for someone he thought he could never have. I fixed it. By trapping them alone in a snowstorm? Chloe's voice was incredulous. By giving them the opportunity they deserved, Isabel corrected. Your father would have waited another 20 years rather than risk making Maya uncomfortable. Sometimes fate needs a push. This is insane, Luke muttered. Welcome to my family, Chloe said dryly. Then she turned to Maya and her expression softened. How do you feel about all this? Because if my dad has been creepily obsessing over you since you were born, that's really weird, Maya. Maya took a deep breath. She'd been so focused on the revelations, she hadn't had time to process her own feelings. But now, with everyone looking at her, she found the words came easily. 48 hours ago, I was sleepwalking through my life, going through the motions, taking pretty pictures at other people's weddings, and going home alone, and wondering if this was all there was. She looked directly at Dominic. Then I crashed my car in a blizzard, and your father pulled me out of the snow, and I felt more alive in that moment than I have in years. Dominic's eyes darkened, and she saw him grip the edge of the table hard enough that the wood creaked.
I'm not scared of him, Maya continued. I should be. God knows this whole situation is bizarre. But when I'm around him, everything feels right. Like pieces I didn't know were missing suddenly fit together. The mate bond, Isabel said quietly. It works both ways. He's been feeling it for 20 years, but you'd only feel it once you were old enough and in proximity. The bond needed you to be ready. And I'm ready, Maya said firmly. Then she looked at Chloe. But you're my best friend. If this makes you uncomfortable, if you can't handle it, I'll walk away. I'll leave tomorrow as soon as the road's clear. She stared at her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, she laughed. This is the most ridiculous thing that's ever happened to me. My dad is a 400-year-old vampire. My mom faked her death and is also a vampire. I'm going to become a vampire in 2 years, and my best friend is apparently soulmates with my father. She shook her head. You know what? Fine. Sure. Why not? At least someone in this family might actually be happy. Chloe, Dominic started. No, Dad. I'm processing. Let me process. She stood up, pulling Luke with her. I need air and answers and possibly therapy. Come on, Luke. They disappeared toward the front door, leaving Maya alone with 2 ancient vampires who were studying her with very different expressions. She'll come around, Isabel said. She's more resilient than I gave her credit for.
Chapter 10. The Choice. Why are you really here? Dominic asked his ex-wife. After 18 years. Why now? Isabel's composure finally cracked. She looked down at her hands, and Maya saw something that shocked her. Vulnerability. Because I'm dying, Isabel said quietly. The words fell like stones into still water. What? Dominic's voice was barely a whisper. Vampire degenerative disease. It's rare, only a few dozen cases ever documented. I have maybe 2 years left. Isabel's hands trembled slightly. I came back to make sure Chloe would have support through her transition. She needs her father. But you, she looked at Dominic with something close to affection. You've been dying too, in your own way, starving yourself of connection, of happiness, of your meat, all because of some misguided sense of honor. It wasn't misguided, Dominic said harshly. She was a child. She's not anymore. Isabel turned to Maya. And you're stronger than you look, strong enough to handle the truth, strong enough to make your own choice. She paused. There's something you should know. If Dominic turns you, if you become a vampire, the transformation takes 3 days. It's painful. There's no going back. but the mate bond would fully snap into place. You'd be truly immortal, and you'd be his equal in every way. Maya's heart stuttered. Turn me? It's the only way, Isabel said. Humans age. You'd have maybe 60 years together before you died and left him alone again. Is that what you want? To give him decades knowing they're temporary? Stop, Dominic commanded, his voice dangerous. You don't get to pressure her. This is her choice. I'm not pressuring. I'm providing information. Isabel stood. I'm going to give you two privacy. Chloe and I have 18 years to catch up on, and I suspect she has questions only a mother can answer. She paused at the doorway. For what it's worth, Dominic, I'm glad you found her. You deserve happiness. You always did. Then, she was gone, leaving Maya and Dominic alone in the suddenly too quiet kitchen.
They sat in silence for a long moment. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm had finally started to ease. You don't have to do anything, Dominic said finally. What Isabel said, it's too much. We've known each other for 2 days. You've known me for 20 years, Maya countered. That's not the same. Isn't it? She turned to face him fully. You've watched me grow up. You know things about me I probably don't remember. You've felt a bond instantly that I'm only beginning to understand. She reached across the table, taking his hand. The contact sent electricity racing up her arm. I need you to be honest with me, completely honest. Do you want me? His hand tightened on hers convulsively. More than I've wanted anything in 4 centuries. Then why aren't you holding back? Because I'm terrified, he admitted, of taking too much, of rushing you, of being the monster who corrupts something good and pure. I'm 25 years old, Dominic. I've been engaged and heartbroken. I've built a career and lived on my own and made my own mistakes. I'm not some innocent child you need to protect. I'm a woman who knows what she wants, and I want you. He rose slowly, towering over her, his control visibly fraying. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me, she challenged. The last thread of his restraint snapped. He kissed her like a man who'd been starving for 20 years, and Maya felt it in every cell of her body. The bond, the connection, the absolute rightness of his mouth on hers, his hands in her hair, the way he pulled her against him like he was afraid she might disappear. She kissed him back with equal desperation, tasting the darkness and desire and decades of longing. Her hands found his shoulders, his jaw, threading through his hair. He groaned against her mouth, the sound sending heat pooling low in her belly. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had gone dark, completely black, and she saw the points of fangs against his lower lip. I can't, he started. You can, and I want you to. Turn me. He went absolutely still. Maya?
I'm serious. She cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. What do I have waiting for me back in the city? A career I love, but a life I'm sleepwalking through? Friends who are all getting married and having babies while I feel like I'm frozen in place? She shook her head. I don't want temporary. I don't want 60 years knowing there's an expiration date. If this is real, if we're real, then I want forever. The turning is painful, he said roughly. 3 days of agony as your body rewrites itself. You'll die and be reborn. There's no guarantee you'll be the same person on the other side. I know. I don't care. Maya, do you love me, or is it just the bond?
His expression cracked open. "I've loved you from the moment I saw you. When the bond snapped into place, it wasn't just recognition, it was coming home. You're my mate, yes, but you're also brave and talented and funny and kind, and I would have fallen for you even without the bond. I've been in love with you since you were 18 and won your first photography award, and I watched you accept it with tears in your eyes." Tears pricked at Maya's own eyes now. "Then let's not waste any more time. Turn me. Make me yours. Let me be strong enough to stand beside you, not just now, but for centuries. If I do this," his voice was shaking now, "if I turn you and bind you to me forever, I will never let you go. Do you understand? I've waited too long. I will be possessive and protective and utterly unable to give you up. Good, because I don't plan on going anywhere." He kissed her again, slower this time, reverent. "Tonight, if you still feel the same in the morning, I'll do it. But I need you to be sure." "I'm sure now." "Then be sure tomorrow too." He rested his forehead against hers. "Because once this starts, there's no stopping it. I need you to know you won't regret this. Regret me." "I could never regret you," Maya promised.
That night, they sat by the fire, and Dominic told her stories. About the world as it was 400 years ago. About the vampires he'd known, the wars he'd survived, the loves he'd had before. Few and fleeting. "I've been alone more often than not," he admitted. About finding Isabel, thinking he'd found his forever, only to realize they were compatible but not bonded. About the joy of becoming a father despite the impossibility. "Chloe saved me," he said quietly. "I was becoming cold, inhuman. She reminded me what it meant to care about someone more than yourself." Maya purled against his side, and he wrapped an arm around her, holding her like something precious. She felt safe, cherished, home. "Tell me about the turning," she said. So he did. The bite. Specific location at the throat where neck met shoulder. His venom mixing with her blood, rewriting her DNA. The fever. The pain. The death of her human body and the rebirth of something new. "I'll stay with you the entire time," he promised. "I won't leave your side for a moment." "Will it change who I am?" "Your core self will remain, but you'll be stronger, faster. Your senses will be overwhelming at first. You'll need to learn control." He paused. "And you'll need to feed." "Blood?" It wasn't a question. "Primarily supplements. Fresh blood only when necessary and only from willing donors or blood banks." His hand tightened on her shoulder. "I haven't killed to feed in over a century. I won't let you become something you'd hate." Maya nodded against his chest, listening to the odd rhythm of his heart. Slower than human, but steady. Real. "What happens tomorrow?" she asked. "Tomorrow we talk to Chloe. We make sure she's okay with this. Then, if you're still certain, I'll take you to the basement where it's quiet and private, and I'll change your life forever." "I'm certain," Maya said. But she waited until morning anyway, because she understood what he needed, the assurance that she was making this choice with clear eyes and full knowledge. Chloe found them at dawn, still on the couch, Maya asleep against Dominic's chest while he stroked her hair and watched the sunrise through the window. "So," Chloe said quietly, not wanting to wake Maya, "you're really going to do this?" "She's asked me to turn her." Dominic's voice was low. "If you're not okay with it,
Dad, Chloe sat down across from them. Her eyes were red from crying, but her expression was calmer. I've spent all night processing. Mom told me everything about vampire culture, about mate bonds, about what I'm going to become in 2 years. She paused. I'm terrified. I'm angry you didn't tell me sooner, but I understand why you didn't. I'm sorry, Dominic said. I should have found a way. Maybe, Chloe shrugged, but I'm dealing with it. And honestly, if Maya becomes one of us, I won't have to go through the transition alone. She'll be there too. That makes it less scary. Are you sure? Dad, I've watched you fade for years, since I hit puberty and started talking about my new best friend, who was smart and funny and loved photography. You'd get this look when I mentioned her, like you were in pain. I didn't understand it then. Chloe's eyes were bright with tears. But if Maya makes you happy, if she's really your mate, then how could I be anything but okay with it? You deserve happiness after everything you've sacrificed for me. Dominic's free hand reached for his daughter's. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. I know. Chloe squeezed back. And Maya's about to be the second best thing. Just promise me you'll be disgustingly happy together, so this whole bizarre situation feels worth it. I promise, Dominic said. Maya stirred against his chest, blinking awake. She looked between father and daughter, reading the situation. So, we're doing this? If you still want to, Dominic said. Maya sat up, looking him directly in the eyes. Morning light caught her face, illuminating the determination there. I've never wanted anything more.
Chapter 11. The Turning. The turning happened that afternoon. Isabel and Chloe gave them privacy, taking Luke out to explore. Now that the storm had cleared, the roads were still impassable. Dominic led Maya to the basement room, to a comfortable bed set up in the corner. The space was warm, despite being below ground, heated by some system he'd installed. Last chance, he said, hands framing her face. Once I bite you, once the venom enters your bloodstream, there's no reversing it. I don't want to reverse it. Maya pulled him down for a kiss, pouring everything she felt into it. Trust, desire, certainty. He kissed her back with barely controlled hunger, and when he trailed his mouth down her jaw to her throat, she tilted her head back instinctively, offering herself. I love you, he murmured against her skin. I've loved you since before you could walk. I'll love you for every century we have together. Then make me yours, Maya whispered. The bite was sharp and burning, pleasure and pain intertwining until she couldn't tell them apart. His venom flooded her system like liquid fire, and she gasped, clutching at his shoulders. The bond, that thing she'd been feeling since he pulled her from the snow, suddenly snapped into perfect, brilliant clarity. She could feel him, his emotions, his thoughts, his absolute devotion wrapping around her like a second skin. The connection was overwhelming, complete. He held her through the first wave of pain, murmuring reassurances as the transformation began. Her body started to burn from the inside out, rewriting itself cell by cell. I'm here, he promised, laying her down gently, staying close. I've got you. Always. The fever took hold, and Maya's world narrowed to fire and darkness and Dominic's voice cutting through it all, an anchor in the storm. 3 days, she thought dimly. 3 days of this before she'd emerge reborn. It would be worth it. Every moment of pain was worth an eternity with him. Chapter 12. 6 months later. Maya adjusted the camera settings, taking advantage of the perfect twilight hour. The wedding couple stood beneath an arch of flowers, golden hour light painting them in warm tones. With her enhanced vampire vision, she could see every detail, the way the bride's hand trembled slightly, the tears gathering in the groom's eyes, the pure love radiating between them. She clicked the shutter, capturing the moment perfectly. "Beautiful," Chloe said beside her, holding the backup camera. "Though I still think it's weird that we're wedding photographers who are technically dead." "Undead," Maya corrected, grinning. "And we're great at it. Never need flash, never miss a shot, and we can work all night." Chloe laughed. She looked healthier than Maya had ever seen her, the vampire traits fully manifesting now at 24. They'd come early, probably from the stress of everything. Her eyes were brighter, her movements more confident. She'd taken to the transition better than anyone expected. "Luke is bringing dinner. He's picking up your favorite from that place in Denver, the one with the rare steaks." "Tell him I love him." Luke had taken the entire vampire revelation remarkably well, especially after Chloe had saved him from a car accident using her enhanced speed. He'd proposed last month, saying if she was going to live for centuries, he wanted to spend every year of his human life with her. They were planning a spring wedding. Maya and Dominic would photograph it naturally. The wedding wrapped up as true darkness fell. Maya packed her equipment with practiced efficiency, everything sharper and easier with her vampire abilities. She still took photos, still loved her career, but now she specialized in night shoots and twilight weddings. Her portfolio had never been stronger. Dominic appeared beside her so quietly she didn't hear him approach. She felt him through the bond instead, that constant awareness of his presence that made her feel complete. "How was it?" he asked, taking the heavy equipment bag like it weighed nothing. "Perfect." She leaned into him and he wrapped an arm around her waist, pressing a kiss to her temple. The casual affection still made her heart race even 6 months into their relationship. "3 more bookings from the guests already." "Of course, you're brilliant." The pride in his voice was unmistakable.
They headed to the car, a new SUV that could hold all their equipment. Chloe and Luke followed, bickering playfully about reception music choices. Back at the cabin, now home, Maya had moved in officially 3 months ago, Isabel was waiting. She looked frailer than she had at Christmas, the disease progressing despite treatments, but her smile was genuine as she hugged her daughter. "How's the happy couple?" Isabel asked. "Disgustingly in love," Chloe reported. Maya got all swoony when she edited the first dance photos. "I did not get swoony." "You absolutely did," Dominic said, pulling Maya back against his chest. "You made that little sound you make when something touches your heart." Maya elbowed him gently. "Traitor." They gathered in the kitchen for their meal. Luke eating normally, the vampires enjoying their supplements with rare steaks. Isabel told stories about vampire culture in the 1920s. Chloe showed them her latest photography series. Luke complained about his dissertation advisor. It was family. Weird, unconventional, supernatural family, but family nonetheless. Later, when everyone had retired to their rooms, Maya found herself on the deck with Dominic, watching stars wheel overhead in patterns she was only beginning to learn to recognize. "Do you regret it?" Dominic asked quietly, pulling her into his arms. "The turning? Giving up your human life?" Maya thought about it seriously, knowing he needed an honest answer. She considered everything she'd given up, the ability to age, to have biological children, though adoption was an option if they wanted, to walk fully in daylight, to live a normal human life. Then she looked at him, at the man who'd waited 20 years for her to be old enough, who turned her with such careful reverence, who looked at her like she hung the moon and stars. "I regret waiting 25 years to crash my car in a snowstorm," she said finally. His laugh was quiet and full of joy. "That's a strange thing to regret. Chloe says your romantic angst rubbed off on me. Did it? And what else rubbed off on me? Your tendency to brood." I stood on my toes to kiss him. "Your perfectionism. Your inability to cook anything that isn't absolutely perfect." "Terrible influences," he murmured against my mouth. "The worst." She kissed him deeper, feeling the bond hum between them, perfect and unbreakable. He pulled back just enough to whisper, "I've waited centuries for this. For you. And I'd wait centuries more." "Good thing you don't have to. I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "I promise. Forever." And as they stood under the stars in the Colorado mountains, surrounded by their strange, beautiful family, Maya knew she'd found what she'd been waiting for all her life. Home wasn't a place. It was a person. It was this man who'd waited decades with patient devotion. It was the family they'd built from impossible circumstances. It was the life they'd create together, 1 century at a time. She'd gotten snowed in at her best friend's dad's cabin. She'd learned he was a 400-year-old vampire who'd been waiting for her since she was born. And somehow, impossibly, it was the best thing that had ever happened to her.
Hi everyone, Katie here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Click the end card to watch the next episode in the series. See you next time.